It wasn't meant to be anything meaningful. It was simply for excitement. But now it's one of my deepest regrets. Others have seen it. Have you ever committed an error like this? How do you handle the aftermath? I realize I messed up badly and it torments me, but I'm at a loss for what to do next. My husband, 45, and I, 40, have been wed for 7 years. We have a 5-year-old boy. My husband and I were introduced through a shared friend. Neither of us was seeking commitment back then. We were just enjoying ourselves. Yet we bonded and became exclusive. We tied the knot after 2 years of dating. My husband works as a software developer at Google. I handle sales for an insurance firm. Our home life was smooth. We had it all until I ruined everything. It began 5 months ago. My husband earned a promotion at his job. He began putting in longer hours afterward. When he returned home, he was constantly exhausted. We ceased being close physically. Each time I attempted to start something, he'd brush it off, claiming fatigue or another reason. His attitude was frustrating me, and I tried not to let it show. I shifted my attention to my career. There was a key client my firm aimed to secure, and I was doing everything possible to close the deal. My advancement hinged on this account. His name is Jay, and he's 48. Jay runs a modest fintech business, and landing his company's group health coverage would be a major win for us. I was tasked with reaching out to Jay and covering all the details he required. My supervisor instructed me to go all out and do whatever it took to bring Jay on board. I grasped the urgency. The insurance sector was struggling then, and we needed every client to stay afloat. My boss also suggested being casual with Jay rather than strictly formal. That approach could build rapport. He advised and I followed, easing up on the stiff professionalism with Jay. I attempted to ignore my husband's conduct, but it was tougher than expected. The pattern repeated endlessly. I got so upset that one day I confronted him directly. "What's happening?" I questioned if he no longer found me appealing or if there was another person. He assured me it wasn't that and that I was overreacting. It was merely job pressure. He explained and I accepted it, stopping any bedroom advances after that. I poured all my energy into my job. Our boy was away at summer camp, so I had no urge to head home early post-work. When our son was absent and we had alone time, it used to be filled with desire and closeness. Now it was just empty. We barely conversed, let alone got physical. My sessions with Jay were progressing nicely. He was humorous, attractive as well. Corporate health plans involve numerous steps and rules, so we'd meet over meals to review them. I aimed to keep things balanced between business and personal, but I faltered badly. During lunches or coffees with Jay, he'd make remarks that seemed flirtatious. But they were understated. I'd dismiss them. I knew he was unattached, but I figured he was just sociable and I was misreading it. One afternoon during lunch, I accidentally spilled water on my blouse, and I caught Jay's gaze lingering on my neckline. I swiftly redirected to work topics, and he focused on my face. I actually liked how he stared at me. It boosted my mood. Likely because I wasn't receiving any notice from my husband at home. I knew it was improper to relish another man's interest while married, but my husband seemed uninterested in me. I was annoyed by all his rejections in bed. It damaged my confidence too, alongside work stress. I genuinely become somewhat friendly with Jay. He began inviting me to outings unrelated to business. I didn't object. I embraced the diversion. In truth, my pull toward him was undeniable. I never intended for it to escalate. It was merely an escape from the tense home environment. My husband was spending most hours at his workplace. By the time he arrived home, I'd finished eating. He'd dine alone, then head to bed. Home felt like a lodging for him. Since I'd stopped pursuing him, he hadn't tried anything either, and from his demeanor, I sensed he wouldn't soon. I know it was a mistake and I shouldn't have, but I lost control. When Jay invited me to lunch one day, I began brushing my foot against his leg. The spark in his eyes was evident. I was weary of being overlooked by my own spouse. That evening, I did something I never imagined. I went to bed with Jay. I accompanied him to his place. The built-up irritation drove me to an action I'd never considered. I slipped out in the night while Jay slept. I was unsure what to tell him as I entered my vehicle. I noticed 2 missed calls from my husband. I prayed he'd be asleep when I got home. I didn't want to confront him. Upon arriving, I found my husband soundly asleep. I felt somewhat eased and proceeded to shower. The following morning, when my husband inquired about my whereabouts the previous night, I claimed a late work session. He barely reacted and kept eating his breakfast. I felt remorse for deceiving him, but his disinterest still stung. I'd resolved not to encounter Jay again. The agreement with him was nearly done, so work interactions would be minimal, and I vowed it was a single incident. I had a spouse and child. I couldn't afford such recklessness. With that resolve, I headed to work and tried to shut out distractions. My husband's altered attitude had impacted me greatly, and he was oblivious. I immersed myself in tasks all week. I lingered at my desk evenings since no one awaited me at home like before. Our boy remained at camp for another month. I attempted chats with him weekly, but he was engrossed in activities and had little time for proper talks. At least he was enjoying himself. Jay didn't reach out post that night. I half anticipated it. Though I deemed it a one-off, it felt odd he didn't attempt contact. I was exiting my office on Friday when Jay appeared outside waiting. Seeing him stunned me. He approached and embraced me. He said he'd missed me. I was both startled and taken aback. I insisted we couldn't repeat that night. It was an error. Jay appeared wounded by my statement. I tried to depart, but he held on. He claimed he didn't buy it and that it wasn't a mistake. "You can't ignore the chemistry between us," he said precisely. "To be truthful with you all." When he uttered that, my vow that it was just once shattered. I yearned to kiss him again, so I did. He led me to his vehicle in the lot, and we became close. I'd never been physical like that in a car. It was novel, and I adored it. I said I'd contact him later and drove home. I showered immediately upon arriving, and when my husband returned, he slept without a good-night kiss. Once more, I chose to see Jay again. That night, I pondered if my actions were self-centered and immoral, but at least I didn't feel ignored with him. I knew my behavior was wrong and repercussions would come. But a tiny inner voice urged, ignore the fallout. And thus began my liaison with Jay. He was aware of my marriage and child, and he was okay with it. I stressed we must remain discreet and avoid public sightings. Jay noted we'd socialized before as coworkers and pals, so we could continue that way. I concurred. All seemed fine. I didn't need to conceal much or fabricate stories since my husband rarely inquired. He'd note my late arrivals or unreachable phone, but any vague response satisfied him. He never probed deeper, and while it should have been comforting he wasn't doubtful, it pained me too. My husband wasn't suspicious not from trust, but from apathy. I'd visit Jay at his residence, or he'd fetch me post-work if available. We'd share lunches and dinners too. Occasionally we'd get close in the car or an unmonitored elevator. I'd never imagined an involvement with a client could be so exhilarating. But it was. I'd never anticipated this surge of adrenaline. I was accustomed to private bedroom encounters, so the rush of public or vehicular intimacy was irresistible. Being with Jay showed me what I'd lacked. I was discovering the adventure and spark with Jay that should have been with my husband. But options were limited, so I accepted and relished it. Our boy returned from camp after 2 months. I had to readjust to his routine. Time with Jay dwindled initially, but I arranged ways to maximize our meetings. My affair with Jay had no ultimate aim. I was uncertain how to proceed. When I confided in Jay, he soothed me, saying we needn't plan ahead and could handle each day. It was reassuring to hear that. My husband never comforted me that way, mainly due to work demands. Honestly, I couldn't pin it all on his advancement. Even pre-promotion, work dominated him. I managed all home and child duties, which were his too. The promotion just amplified it. Before he'd spare weekends or post-dinner time, but now that ended. It stopped troubling me once things with Jay began. I received affection in and out of bed. Gradually, my husband's actions affected me less. It was obvious my husband didn't truly care for me. I just ignored it earlier. He hadn't once sought closeness. Not that I desired it now, but it highlighted his indifference. I considered permanent separation, but shelved it for our boy. Though my husband was a poor partner, I was equally flawed as a wife. He was a solid dad. He ensured our son had all needs met, including his focus. Rarely did he set work aside, but it always involved our son. I couldn't deprive my boy of his father, nor did I want separation from my child. Shared parenting was unacceptable. I opposed shuttling him between us. I chose to remain married for my kid. My affection for my husband faded quickly. Only my son counted in that household. I was content after ages. Work thrived. Things with Jay were fantastic. Home was as good as possible under circumstances. My husband persisted with his job. He might not notice if I vanished. I lunched with Jay to return home promptly post-work for my son. Jay comprehended my setup and flexed meetings to suit me. He was incredibly accommodating. It was remarkable. I believed all was per my design, but I was mistaken. Events shifted abruptly and disastrously. One day my phone tumbled downstairs en route to lunch with Jay. I planned repairs later. Eager to see Jay, he suggested his place. Being Friday, I could skip remaining work easily. I went to his home. I returned around 6, my usual time. My boy wasn't home as expected. Only Bate was present. Bate, our nanny, stayed with him post-school until a parent arrived. Bate explained my son developed high fever at school and needed hospital rush. His teacher tried calling me repeatedly but failed. My husband answered and was with him at hospital. I sped there. My faulty phone left my son without me there. I found my husband with our boy who was recounting a school tale. I hurried to my son's side. He felt improved. My husband asked nothing then. Soon the physician arrived, stating it was flu and he could go home. I drove our son home while my husband mentioned needing to return to work after rushing out. At home, I fed and bedded him. I noted to fix phone next day. I slept in his room that night. At 2 a.m., I awoke to my husband at the door, watching. Startled initially, I relaxed seeing him and sighed. He was still dressed for work. I asked his arrival time. He said just now, checking on our son before bed. I agreed. He then queried my location during the teacher's calls. I explained my phone malfunctioned, preventing contact. He eyed me skeptically. I showed the phone on the shelf, cracked screen evident. He then revealed knowing I wasn't at office. He phoned there, they said I left for lunch and didn't return. He stated. I wasn't shocked he'd checked. It made sense, but concern for my son overshadowed excuse planning. I stammered about a prolonged meeting. His face revealed nothing on belief. I hoped he did, then resumed son care. Next day I stayed home with him but needed phone repair. I left briefly with Bate watching him. I bought a new one since repair would delay. First, I messaged Jay explaining all. He was supportive as ever, offering aid. My husband avoided the topic post-questioning. He dressed and left for work morning. Days passed smoothly. My son recovered, resuming school. I returned to office. I saw Jay on lunch breaks one Friday upon home arrival. My husband awaited me, shocked seeing him early. Couldn't recall last time. I grinned, heading to shower when he halted me. He asked my lunch location. I stared blankly, wondering his knowledge. He explained visiting my office for bank document signatures. I repeated prior excuse. He appeared to accept, nodding release. Before he murmured he trusted me. The shame from those words was indescribable. I was betraying him, yet he trusted. Overcome with remorse, I wept in shower. He was an ideal husband, but I wasn't ideal wife. It felt awful knowing his trust while I was with another. I realized I couldn't persist. Options: confess to husband and end marriage, or terminate with Jay. Decision needed. Losing either pained. Jay was kind, so supportive, but no future there. I couldn't abandon son and husband. Concluded time to end with Jay. Resolved post-weekend meet would be final, but decision came late. Saturday planned home with son. Unsure husband's plans, post-promotion he shared none, mostly worked weekends. He stayed home with us. Surprising, prior day 2 home early. Instinct warned something amiss, but I dismissed as guilt and exposure fear. Husband joined me in living room after son left to park with Bate. He said we must discuss. His voice steady, neutral, didn't suspect he knew of Jay. Wrong. He did, he calmly stated, knowing my infidelity. Explained suspicions from late returns. Confirmed post-son's hospital. Described visiting my office lunches, seeing me enter Jay's car. Showed phone photos of us. Couldn't deny any more. Pointless. Photos showed us kissing, me affectionate. Only choice, admit. He nodded, asking origins. I detailed start post his promotion, neglect. Shared feelings, how Jay made me desired. He remained expressionless as I spoke. Added planning Monday end. He disbelieved, laughed, saying no more lies needed. He knew my secret. I insisted truth, but he said my words untrustworthy now. He explained hard work for our desired life. Planned family overseas vacation. I knew I fell short as husband, but never betrayed you. He said sharply, adding provision intent for us. I wept uncontrollably, didn't stop him. He wanted prior day confrontation, but offered truth chance. Hence trust mentioned to gauge reaction. I'd truly erred. He left me sobbing in room. Returned with water. Shocked by kindness, saw envelope. New contents, divorce docs, unprepared, prepared after parking citing. He said I reluctantly accepted. Understood my fault led here, but pain persisted. Papers sought full son custody. I protested he couldn't. He claimed best for son with him over me. I refused those terms. He said irrelevant what I wanted. He'd ensure son with him. Said sign drama-free, allow visits. Else tell son of cheating, he'd hate me. Incredulous, serious, threaten that, son 5. Such knowledge would shatter him. New husband ruthless for goals. Possible he'd exploit son. I'd hurt son via affair unknowingly. Wrong. Couldn't face his hate. Argued pointless removing him from me. Husband work busy, better with me. Begged desperately, pleading ignored. Firm gave 2 days sign. Added NJ now or show son photos. Unsure bluff but couldn't risk son trauma. Wanted healthy life for him. Phone J post husband exit ended it. J understood son priority, no fight. Offered help if needed. Grateful silently. Contacted attorney on custody. Said right to contest, seek soul. Couldn't reveal blackmail, ended call quick. Knew no escape, lose son either way. Refuse sign, son learns, hates forever. Sign with father, chose latter, signed, could distance but not hatred. At least fond memories. Husband pleased with signature, gave weak explain to son my departure. Knew tough, wanted, his vengeance making suffer. Knew consequences due but losing son unforeseen. Earlier avoided divorce for son. Now forced away, explaining mom's leaving broke my heart. He sobbed first telling, I cried too, recalling pains. With effort explained dad cares, we'll meet soon. His pained eyes nearly broke me, acted strong for him. Spent week cherishing moments. Friday, school drop-off, said won't be home post-school. He cried, hugged, promised soon meet. Husband observed weak, hoped my misery softens him, no. Arranged movers to company flat, quick option. Exiting home, husband present, emotionless, expected none. No feelings for me, said filed divorce, lawyers contact for rest. Nodded, urged son care, apologized all, said he'd handle son, no worry needed. Silent after, left. Over month passed, divorce ongoing. Lawyers said uncontested, quick end, shifted to company housing, lacked energy search more, ex allowed 3 son talks, miss him terribly, heart aches. Relief, son well treated, husband good dad always. Knew he'd manage. Boy said dad home early post-work, plays, bittersweet, if early for me know this now. Can't blame infidelity on him, but hurts he couldn't change then. Focus work now, nothing else. Never reached J post home call. He hasn't either, thankful, couldn't continue sans son, affair regret weighs heavy, wish undone. No impulse act with J, still with son. Maybe husband attentive later, wish waited over cheating. Update, 2 months post leaving. Divorce court finalized. Lawyer asked once from husband, declined, no assets desired, only son wanted, couldn't nothing else mattered, husband progressed. Son mentioned seeing bait exit dad's room morning, shocked, bait early 30s. Moved on easily, thought, but realized no position judge, my affair ended marriage, still stung. Told son maybe bait retrieved forgotten item from dad, though ex used son versus me, I wouldn't. Not manipulating son's emotions for revenge. Glad could talk son anytime. Bait called when son requested mom, appreciated, perhaps guilt from ex-sleep, even weekends with son. Those moments life's joy, he shares every detail. I miss none, regret lingers, hits hard dropping to father's once my house, update, year since last update. Son turned 6 last month, adapted changes well, stopped crying me 6 months post-leave. Now smiles drop off. Mixed emotions seeing smile, relieved not causing tears but hurts wondering if he misses. Also ex engaged to bait. Wedding in 6 months despite my cheat. Still pains seeing him with another. Hurt viewing them in our built home. Learned engagement dropping son. He kissed bait intimately. Couldn't recall his last such kiss to me. Coughed presence, bait bashful. Ex seemed glad I witnessed. Eyes on bait's ring. Ex announced engagement, soon marry, forced smile. Ex's expression showed enjoyment of my hurt. Kissed her again, revenge for my betrayal. Left after son cheek kiss. Thanks to non-judgers offering support, empathy. Unknown personally, but meant much.